I don't know why it is, probably science, but it was rad.
Do you have a preference on what side?
Oh, I got two good sides. I have this one side that has a scar on it.
Yep.
Rides DMX. People are always like, yo, Scotto's got a booger. I'm like, no, that's just a scar, dude. That unfortunately doesn't go away. Yes, to tested snow drift, Raptor tracks, WRC testing.
I know this thing starting.
So this is the part of the show where like we just talk, and it takes us like half an hour to actually like get flowing, and then they just cut around it all, and they make us sound like we're smart.
I think you should do an intro though.
I know, but no, then we go to the intro. So like this is just the warm up of this show, and then eventually I'll say this is Daily Transmission Tangent. Yeah. This is Daily This is Tangents. Are you gonna be talking off camera the whole time? Tony Harmer. By the way, Tony's nickname on Ken's race team is Tony fucking Hama. That the bleep in the middle, you guys can figure out what that word is. Hama. Anyway, welcome to Daily Transmission Tangents, the show where we talk about stuff that we once did, not doing right now. And today, what? What's that like?
That we once did?
Yeah, we once did it. Because like normally DT, we're doing it. It's happening at the moment. Right. This could have happened 5 minutes ago. It could have happened yesterday. In the terms of this show, it could have happened almost 15 years ago. 13 years ago? Something like that.
It's my whole life, Brian.
Anyway, here we are. Ken Block, and it's winter. So we're going to talk about snow. Do you like snow?
I like snow.
Why do you like snow?
I don't know. I was actually born here in Long Beach.
Factoid, by the way. Doesn't snow in Long Beach.
Yeah, but my dad hand-built a cabin in Forest Falls, so I grew up going to that cabin on the weekends, especially in the winter. So I have like these fond memories of being in a small cabin, fireplace, dumping outside, that sort of thing. I had such a good experience as a kid doing that after high school, I was a snowboard bum for 2 years, went and lived up at June Mountain up near Mammoth for a season and 2 seasons in Breckenridge, Colorado.
Then you got into cars.
Yeah, but even back then, I was sliding around in snow. Like, I wanted to do what I saw the rally drivers that I looked up to do, sliding around in the snow. So I didn't know what I was doing back then. But I knew how to pull.
None of us do. That's what makes it so much fun.
Yeah. But I knew how to pull a handbrake. I put myself in plenty of stupid situations by pulling the handbrake. That's how I originally learned to like slide a car for fun.
So for today's episode, the goal is to go through some of the more fun times that you've had in the snow, whether it's been snowboarding, doing stuff in cars, in trucks, snowmobiles, because we've done a lot. Yeah. And some of you guys maybe have seen some of this, but I mean, the earliest one that I can remember is Snow Park in New Zealand.
Yeah, but that's the first sort of like video piece that we actually made with a car with me.
And this is before Gymkhana. And this is actually, I think, one of the first things I worked on with. No, I guess stunt jump keys was the first thing. So, but the second thing was really, that was when we first started working together on stuff. And Snow Park, well, just explain what Snow Park was.
Okay, well.
And what the concept was.
Okay, well, that was Mountain Lab 1.5. So I had a house in Utah that we called the Mountain Lab it was the DC Mountain Lab. And we used it as a private research and development facility. So all the snowboarders from, Todd Richards, Scotty Whitlake, Travis Parker, Travis Rice, all those guys would come through, we'd test product, ride, have fun. And so at one point we said, let's make a video here. And so we made the original Mountain Lab video, and Pierre Wickberg was, the director, main filmer, edited it all. And that
Pierre, by the way, is the DP or director of photography on the Gymkhana 9 and what will soon be Gymkhana 10.
Yes. We were filming various parts around the world, a lot at the Mountain Lab in Utah. And then we had this idea of taking the car that I was actually racing that year down in New Zealand and filming some stuff with it on a small resort called Snow Park. So we went down there and filmed for 3 or 4 days, just coming up with all sorts of silly little stuff that we could do. One of the sketchiest things ever was actually jumping a couple of the snowboard kickers, especially a step down jump that I did with a couple of different guys. And I think like I have a snowboarder cover that's up in my house that is me jumping off this jump with Torstein Horgmo like jumping next to me and spinning next to me. It was actually one of the coolest trips that I've ever done, and to be able to combine like my history and my love of snowboarding with what I do with a rally car was just insane.
I was working at 0 to 60 still then. So I remember interviewing you about it, or talking to you about it, and you're like, it was all about trying to get like the snowboarders to interact with the car. And I think like at that point, like no one had ever done anything like that.
Yeah.
And it was wild to see guys like hit, like slide in the car or like getting so close to it and all that. And I've talked to Todd about it since then, and he's still be like, it was one of the wildest things, like just to like be jumping and looking next to you, and there's this massive car flying through the sky, and you're like, that's right there, that's wild. Like that's just so nuts that they're getting the same amount of air, like on that. So, and by the way, Todd Richards, I know you watched the show, but you won't take a 2-hour drive up here to come hang out. Like, not cool, man. Todd always he always like, oh, I love that episode, but then I invite him up here, and he's like, hey, you live far away. Thanks, Todd. Anyway, here's a little snippet of that. Oh, do you want to talk about how you broke your back?
Not really. So Eddie, how much speed do you think I need for this?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd pretty much just say straight line it.
All right, dropping.
Damn car off of the hill.
Dude, I just got snaked by a Subaru.
So yeah, I broke my back. Last thing that we did there, I calculated the speed and everything perfectly. And, we have these physics programs. And I erred in the side of jumping a little too far. And I literally was like 2 miles an hour too fast. But that put me landing out in the flat. I'm okay. I may have broke my back, but
You made it?
how much further did I land?
You went right off it.
Man. So, came down very hard. Basically, compression fractured my vertebrae and broke it. A helicopter came in, took me down to the hospital, and the hospital was like, "Hey, you have a fractured vertebrae. Go home." I was like, "What?"
Walk it off.
Yeah. So I had a flight that day anyway back home, and that was the last thing that we were shooting. Never told anyone. Well, I didn't tell anyone for a week and a half, and I raced the following weekend. And the following weekend was a Rally America event in Colorado, and I actually won that event. And I just put a kidney
belt
brace.
on?
Yeah. And I didn't tell anyone because I didn't want the team to worry about like liability, like if I hurt it worse, that the team would be responsible. So I didn't tell them till after the event.
After you won it.
Yeah, after I won.
Nice.
That's fine.
Damn it, that sucks.
He just wants the rest of it.
You 100% missed the landing.
Yeah.
So now fast forward, what, like a year or two for Subaru tracks?
We'd had that idea for a while, and basically the idea was to something that was quick in the snow, because at that time the mat tracks had come out, and there was various videos online about them, but everything was really slow.
It was like just trucks or like transport vehicles.
Yeah, and I was like, why can't that go like 80 miles an hour? Now, mind you, I never looked into the technical aspect that they don't want you to go more than 45 miles an hour with it. But we went and bought a set of those and put it on one of the rally cars. And the team was very good at that time. They were willing to work and kind of do fun things with the cars at that time. And once again, Pierre was involved with that. And a bunch of that was shot at the Mountain Lab and then at various spots around Park City. Anyway, it was fun. We shot it really quick. We meant to shoot a bunch more, but we never were able to go back, because I think that's right when my contract ended with Subaru. So
one of the issues I remember for the Subaru was, as cool as it was, it just didn't really have the power or the torque to turn them. So we fixed that with Raptor tracks.
yeah, when we built the Raptor, we took the actual mat tracks from the other car that we did and put them on the Raptor. And we said, okay, what are kind of all the pitfalls of what I dealt with, with the rally car? One was not enough power. So we put a supercharger on the Raptor engine, so it actually builds a good amount, I think like 800 horsepower. On top of that, the Subaru was a great idea, but I wanted to be able to transport myself and my friends, around in the backcountry to be able to shuttle to ride powder. So we needed to add more seating and tools and storage for all the boards, storage for spare parts, and of course wanted to add things like, a barbecue, coolers, all that sort of thing. But the downside to adding all that stuff is it added a lot of weight.
So this is one of only 2 major projects that you've done that I wasn't on. So this is one that I'm always jealous of, because I didn't. There's that one, and then Top Gear Hoonigan. Like those were 2 projects I was actually not a part of. So
And those were really successful too.
beg to differ, but whatever. I mean, just coattail on something I built.
So I want to go back and build another one, because the new Raptor's lighter.
Yeah.
So I think that's a new project at some point in my future.
Well, try to invite me this time. Thanks. So anyway, if you haven't seen...
You're
What?
not so good in the snow.
Look at the size of these legs. I can hold post for feet and still be standing above the snow.
So the funny thing is, I was going to Baldface one time for vacation. I told Lewis I was going, Lewis Hamilton, so he came up. But the funny thing is, like, Jamie Lynn showed up. Lewis was like stoked. I was like impressed. I was like,
By the way, if you grew up snowboarding in the 90s, Jamie Lynn was probably your favorite rider.
Yeah.
And if you didn't,
and he's
you should have
still,
been.
and
Jamie
Jamie's
Lynn was
still rad.
one of my favorite riders of all time.
Anyway, we go out riding for those couple days, and Lewis was super stoked to ride with Jamie, and it was fun, And for whatever reason, out of the blue, I hear Lewis saying, "I want to learn how to backflip" to Jamie, and I'm like, really? Like,
So do we have this footage?
I have footage, yes.
And we can show it?
I don't know.
Hell yeah, we can show it. So enjoy Lewis Hamilton learning to backflip.
He hasn't let me show it yet.
Well done. Believe, tuck your knees to your chest, roll hard.
He eventually rode away. Like, I
Wow.
give him credit.
All right, so let's rewind. We're in Atlanta, Michigan
Yeah.
for Snowdrift.
Yeah.
You've never driven that contraption we had that Olsberg built, which I call it a contraption because it was a rallycross car that had been converted to rally and had no testing on it. So the whole year we just spent dealing with like the most random and weird problems trying to make it be a rally car.
The year you're mentioning is 2010.
Yeah.
The first year with Ford. So we go to Snowdrift at the beginning of the year, which is up in Michigan, full snow, and we go to do this test. And it was, a full new setup for me, different type of suspension that I used in the
Also
past.
different differentials too. 'Cause
Yeah, different diffs. It was all mechanical. Yeah, that was one of the wildest tests I've ever had. Because there's moments I remember in that video where it's just flat out 6th gear and the rev limiter lights are just going and like.
It was one of those, it was so sketchy.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't understand we're doing this on street tires. They're snow tires, but they're not studded tires, which is what you use in rally in Europe. Like they all think we're insane because we drive on the US and Canada snow rallies without those studs. And I won't do it anymore. It's not, now that I've driven on studs with WRC tires, like I know the promised land.
You didn't know better.
Yeah, like literally I've crashed at Snowdrift in a straightaway braking because with those tires, you'll just grab traction in weird ways, and I've literally grabbed traction in a straightaway braking to a left turn, and the car went that way. So that segues into another video, which was the testing for Sweden in 2011.
This is the wildest place we've ever been.
Yeah, one of my favorite things ever about that day of driving was we're in the middle of nowhere, Sweden, on a lake, and as the lake froze, they drained it some. So the ice was actually undulating in certain areas when it got near shore. So there's these shots of me coming over these crests where it's like I'm sideways but at these weird angles and stuff, and it was just such a fun road cut onto like a lake, around the edges of the lake and on the lake. Man, that was just one of the most fun and wild days of my life.
It's one of
ever
the
in a
things
car.
I still don't really understand the physics of how it works, like how you get ice to like mold around what I'm assuming was the bottom of the lake,
Yeah.
and that's why it's shaped that way. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why it is. Probably science, but it was rad.
I think we've covered all the actual race car
I think
stuff.
that's all the race car stuff. But you've also done some fun stuff with sleds.
Yeah, I have a good relationship with BRP, which is Can-Am, Ski-Doo, and Sea-Doo. So they've given us a couple Ski-Doo Freeride 154 this past year, and we decided to put a turbo on it. And
Because
yeah, I mean everything
everything needs
with
a turbo.
And we actually kind of had the boost not really turned up. But
that was your first mistake.
yeah, well, that was the thing. I started to get used to it, and we, the first day we took it out, I took it onto a lake just to break it in and do
Right.
all the basic setup with it with the guy that installed it. And we did some GoPro telemetry stuff because that's right when the GoPro software
Released
came
that.
out with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
telemetry. So I turned that on, went and ripped around the lake, came back, and we looked at the footage like the next day. And basically, I did 0 to 60 in, I don't know, 3.2 or 3.5 seconds. And you feel it in the bars because it's a 2-stroke, 2-cylinder, 850. So that when the power band hits with that turbo, it's, and the GoPro says it's a 1G a pull when it takes off. For me, snowboarding itself, like I've been riding since, that's gonna really make me seem old, but 88, 89, 88.
Yokata, when were you born?
94.
So I was lucky with DC that I got to ride all sorts of unique places all over the world, test and try amazing equipment, and ride with super rad dudes and girls, you know, and you know, everyone from, you know, Todd Richards and Travis Parker, you know, to even still today, like earlier this year, I rode with Travis Rice in Japan. And like, he even did a rad little follow cam with me that like, man, I'm super stoked. Like I'm a good rider, but to have a guy like Travis Rice following me around and giving me back a rad follow cam, that's
a pretty good level. When the guy who, you know, starred in
Art of Flight
is the guy who's now filming you. That works out well.
Yeah.
Well, good last run, eh?
Yes, so good. Thank you.
My pleasure. Too bad it's been too blizzardy to actually go on the freaking big dog runs. Kiddie Slope Yuki was still pretty fun.
It's been a really cool ride, and now, as my kids start to get older, I get to take them. Like, we've been to Baldface several times over Christmas, and you know, my oldest is 11 now. She can ride pretty well, but my son, there's a video of my son when he's like 4, and he's on my shoulders, and I'm riding down through a little powder field on like Christmas Day, and I've got, you know, like a
GoPro pole.
Yeah, a GoPro at the end of a pole. So it was really rad to be able to share this stuff with my kids too.
And they've grown up in the snow. I mean, because you live there, so
Yeah.
it's like second.
Yeah, no, my kids have grown up like in the snow, skiing and snowboarding, and thinking that race cars are just a normal part of life.
As they should be.
Yeah.
Well,
I think we covered everything.
I think we covered everything. So hope you enjoyed these snow stories. If you want us to share more of this, like forgotten in the vault stuff, you know, let us know, and we may or may not.
Well, I think the funny thing for me, and that's why we want to do this, is that some people may see snippets of some of this stuff, but
Right.
not know the whole
catalog,
story of like where or why we do all these different things, and then even the breadth of it, that someone might see, oh, that I was a snowboarder, but have no idea that history,
Yep.
and maybe have never even seen Mountain Lab 1.5 because, oh, that was like 12 years ago now.
Y2K wasn't even alive. You're 7. Dude, you're 7. It was 12 years ago. You weren't here.
Did the internet even exist?
No, there was no internet. No, we all watched it on VHS. You ever do anything with the Escort in the snow? No, right? That'd be a good one to do.
Yeah, I need a gravel Escort again someday. So that'd be perfect for that.
I know. Anyway, anything else?
Not that I can think of.
All right, so this is the part of the show where you get up and walk away. I start to talk to them about railcar and never explain what it is, and then I walk away.